Good morning and welcome to our morning show studios today on WRCO Radio. Joining me for the first part is Pam Kohlberg, Dementia Care Specialist, and we are in to talk a little bit about an upcoming event, Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body. And later on, Latino Outreach Coordinator Virginia Zerpa will join us by phone from Milwaukee as well. Good morning, Pam. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm a little bit sore, but I went on a walk with the ADRC yesterday, and I forgot. There's nothing that tells you how out of shape you are until you, try to walk a mile. So I'm recovering. I'm in recovery.
Oh, that's good. Sometimes it isn't that it's a mile. It's the speed for me.
You know what? I was walking with two 80-year-olds, and they were going faster than me. There was a couple of 80-year-olds there that were way ahead of me, and I tried to keep up with them, and that just wore me out. So
tell them to slow down next time, right?
Yeah, those older people.
I know you're excited about this upcoming Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body event. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, because I'm, me, I call myself a brain health enthusiast. That's my preferred title, and I just find it fascinating. And so what I've been learning over my 8 years of doing this job in lots of different counties, I was down in Lafayette County, Greene County, is that when I'm trained by the researchers in UW-Madison, they were saying, it doesn't matter what culture you're raised in, what language you speak, we all have a human body with a brain, and it can be susceptible. So if you're exposed to environmental toxins, if you have poor education, if you don't get the right conditions in your environment, it can make affect your brain. And so people of Latino descent are 1.5 times more likely to have dementia than others. And it has to do with health outcomes, but it also has to do with the environment people are raised in. So any one of us, if we're exposed to, like I said, toxins or alcohol or all kinds of, poor education, that kind of stuff affects our brain. And we're finding out trauma affects our brain and our emotions affect our brain, like depression actually chemically changes our brain. So I was fascinated by this. And so as I worked in the regional office down on Main Street and I would encounter a lot of our neighbors who speak Spanish, I'd be like, well, why? What is it? What can I do to help? How can I get this education? Well, when I met you a couple of morning shows ago with Chris Gerber and his fundraiser, his wonderful fundraiser that's coming in November at the bowling alley, we happened to talk to somebody from the Alzheimer's Association. So I said to them, could we do some education here for people who both speak Spanish and English about brain health? Would you send somebody all the way from Milwaukee to come and talk to us? So that's when I met Virginia Zerpa at a conference here that the Alzheimer's Association does every year over in the Kalahari. And so I got talking to her and I thought that would be great to have in our community because we have a lot of friends and neighbors who are Spanish speakers and a lot of businesses around here, right? La Fratanga, Delicia, Los Amigos. We have all these places and I thought, well, here's an audience that could hear about brain health in a language that I can only speak solo un poco. So I wanted to bring Virginia out here, and so I convinced her, and I thought, well, where can we have it? Who's my community champion? Because when you do community organization, you have to have your champions, that will help take it to a new level. And I love to go eat the fried fish over at RC Taco. It tastes like lobster. It's so good. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching Carolina Rodriguez greet people at the door. I even ran into Ron Fruit there, and he says hello to you, just by the way. So anyway, I ran into Ron Fruit at RC Taco, and I'm watching Carolina, and she's so warm, and everybody walks in as if they're a friend, And I thought, what a warm, welcoming person. And I looked around the place. She had renovated the old Dairy Queen.
Yes.
And I thought, this is a nice space, has a bar you could stand behind and give a lecture about brain health and how alcohol affects your brain, right? So I could just, when I picture something, I really want to see how I can make it happen. So I could picture doing some kind of social occasion there. I knew Carolina would love to make food, and she would be so welcoming. And then we could have a talk there. So I talked with Virginia and Carolina. They were mostly in Spanish, and I just tagged along and understood what I could. And next we have this event where we're going to close a restaurant for 2 hours. If people register with Virginia by calling the number that we're going to give later, they can come to this event. And we have the dementia care specialists from Grant County and Iowa County. So if people come from a different county, they don't have to be from Richland Center, then they can come talk to all these brain health experts that are going to gather and have some of Carolina's food. And Virginia will give us a talk, and we'll talk in both English and Spanish about what is brain health and how does it affect you and how can you avoid it? And some of it is, making sure you don't get concussions, but also like knowing what you're exposed to, right? We know that the air quality right now is not great. That's probably affecting our brain, right? We're a little more foggy from that Canadian smoke, whatever. That there's more things impact our brain than we realize. And so where we position ourselves, how we're raised, what we go throughout our life, both can lift up our life, by learning a language, you're improving your brain, right? When you're exposed to environmental toxins, it's not so great. And what's the balance? They call that cognitive reserve. But I thought it would be great to get together with our friends and neighbors and have an event, both in English and Spanish, to talk about brain health. And Virginia's a very friendly person too. So I thought, well, here's two people I've met and I enjoy. Why don't we get together, have some food, and talk about our brains? What could be better?
Yeah. And you don't have to speak Spanish to get anything out of it. I mean,
I'll be there,
and vice versa.
And I only, speak solo un poco. So I will be speaking mostly in English. But we'll have, like I said, some other dementia care specialists there from other counties if people want to learn the resources. So I'll be talking about the resources that the ADRC, since I'm from the Aging and Disability Resource Center, I'll be talking about the resources we have. And that's another thing I just want to mention in our time together is I'll be teaching a class at Boost Your Brain and Memory. So if you can't come next Wednesday, the 18th, between 4 and 6, at the RC Taco Place, you can come join me for a class at the Community Center next September. It'll be I think Friday afternoons or Monday afternoons. I'll get that information to you. But anyway, we're going to have a class, and there we deep dive into what are the things that are affect our brain and how can we optimize. Because a lot of people who've had a mother or grandmother with dementia worry, oh my gosh, I'm going to get it. And as we've said many times, genetics only loads the gun. It's the lifestyle that sets it off. And so we want to make sure we're not setting off. If we keep our brain optimal, like those 80-year-olds who go walking or people who go and learn new things like pickleball. I had to schedule this class around pickleball because, you can't do things. It used to be bingo and now it's pickleball. Right. So if you want to learn how to optimize your brain health, you can come next week for, an hour, or you can come to this 6-week class, and it's going to be through the community center. They're their supportive partners. And then there's lots of things. So if people ever want to ask the ADRC, we have another class that some of the researchers in UW-Madison have. It's called the Alzheimer's and Dementia Research Center. They're the ones who discovered that you can do a blood test, and it will tell you whether you have amyloid that leads to Alzheimer's. So now you can get diagnosed for Alzheimer's through a blood test. That's very soon. And that's all thanks to the research that's done at UW-Madison. And so they are leading some sessions called Healthy Living with Mild Cognitive Impairment. And you can do that online. So lots of information. I know people go to the internet. Sometimes you can hear some wacko things on the internet. But why not come to a vetted source? So I have all kinds of classes and, ways that people can learn about this thing that they're carrying around inside their head, about what are the important things to keep in mind. So anyway, next week is one opportunity, and then there's a lot of others through the ADRC.
All right. We'll give Virginia a call here. We'll take a quick break and get Virginia on, and instead of talking about her, we'll talk with her.
Okay, that sounds great.
Coming
then
next.
We'll talk about you.
Yeah, well, we can do that too, I guess. Hopefully not too long. Coming up on the morning show. Welcome back to our morning show get-together on WRCO. I'm Phil Nee, joined by Pam Kohlberg, and joining us on the phone is Virginia Zerpa, who is the Latino Outreach Coordinator and will be here in Richland Center in our fair area coming up next week. Good morning, Virginia.
Good morning.
Yeah, nice to have you on here with us. So tell us a little bit about the upcoming program that you will be giving here in Richland Center.
We have connected with the owners of RC Taco to provide education on how to keep our brains healthy. So all the information I will provide this coming Wednesday has been gathered via clinical studies.
Tell us a little bit about some of the strategies that you'll be talking about on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. So we'll be talking about what clinical studies have shown that physical exercise does amazing things to the brain to keep it healthy and strong. Then I'll be talking about nutrition. I'll be listing special foods that have shown to be very, very beneficial to brain health, as well as social engagement and cognitive engagement, and what kind of activities we need to engage every day to keep our brains healthy.
Pam and I discussed the fact that for the Latino population, it seems like there is a higher rate of some brain issues and later in life. Any idea why that could be?
Yes, we have some ideas. We have an idea, so it has shown that based on the global population, low educational attainments, high levels of high incidence of diabetes, high cholesterol, and hypertension and obesity can put us at risk for living with Alzheimer's at our later years in life. So all these chronic conditions are very prevalent in the Latino community, thus putting them at risk for Alzheimer's and other dementias.
Pam?
Yeah, and I was just going to say, Virginia, I know you work for the Alzheimer's Association, who we should credit for giving a lot of support to the research that's done. And I was hoping that you could describe this incident, the event that we're having next week, because it will be both in Spanish and English. If you could describe it for our listeners who are Spanish-speaking, if you could describe the event.
Yeah, and the program will only be delivered in Spanish, so that the English-speaking community know. But because okay, I'm gonna explain it in Spanish now. But hola, la comunidad latina, buenos días. Soy Virginia Serpa de la Alzheimer Association. Este miércoles 18 de junio voy a ofrecer un taller para presentarles las cosas que podemos hacer para mantener la salud de nuestro cerebro sano y así reducir el riesgo de vivir con la enfermedad de Alzheimer u otras demencias. Espero ver a mucha gente el 18 de junio en ADRC Taco, pero me gustaría que por favor se registraran, porque como tengo que manejar 2 horas y media hasta Richland Center, necesito su registración, y pueden registrarse llamándome a mí, a Virginia Serpa, al 414-431-8811. Y vamos a servir comida y todo es gratis. El evento, la comida es gratis.
Thank you, Virginia.
Okay, no problem.
And one of the things that we want to emphasize is they need to call a specific number. You want reservations, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, and we have the number here. It is 414-431-8811. Again, 414-431-8811.
And Phil, the reason we need people to call is Carolina Rodriguez is making us food at ADRC Taco, so we need to know how many people are coming, how much food to cook. So there is it's a free program and a free dinner, and so we want people to pre-register. We can only have people come in if they've registered ahead. I also wanted to say if people had questions for me, because like I said, this program will be in Spanish, and we'll have my colleagues there who represent the dementia care specialists from other counties as well. So we'll be there to show our resources as dementia care specialists in the ADRC. And then also there's a class that I teach in Boost Your Brain and Memory. So if people want, more programming on this topic, then I'll be doing a class this fall, and they can call me at 608-548-3954, and that program will be in English. So we have one in each language, but either one will have all the resources for both the Alzheimer's Association and the Aging and Disability Resource Center, because I know Virginia will be bringing lots of resources, right, Virginia, in about
yes.
all the online resources that the Alzheimer's Association is amazing in how many resources they have across the nation.
What age do you suggest is appropriate? Obviously, this isn't just for somebody of the aging the aging population, Virginia.
Correct. So anyone is welcome to attend and learn about how to keep their brains healthy. So any age, 18 and up, is welcome to receive that information.
That's good to know. Anything you'd like to add, Pam?
Well, no, I think that the food and community is always good for our brains, right? And so I look forward to seeing Virginia. And like I said, Carolina is about the most welcoming hostess you can have. And so it's another chance to share food, break bread together, and then talk about this important thing of brain health. So I want people to know this is one chance. It's next Wednesday, the 18th from 4 to 6, and they would call Virginia's phone number to reserve. But that also, there are other programs I'm doing. There's one actually next Friday on the 20th is this Healthy Living with Mild Cognitive Impairment. The title is Unlocking the Power of Habits, Routines, and Strategies. So if people want to call me and get information about how to see that online webinar about a different aspect about the brain, we have lots of resources. So this is one among many. Mm-hmm. But I'm so glad Virginia is willing to make the whole trip from Milwaukee to come see us. And I hope she'll see how beautiful Richland County is here in the Driftless area.
Right. Maybe we can convince you to move here, Virginia.
Yeah, maybe I will retire there. We'll see.
It's very beautiful and a lot of nice people.
All right. Well, thanks for being our guest by phone today, Virginia.
Oh, thank you.
You bet. Virginia Zerpa joining us on WRCO. And again, that number is 414-431-8811 if you'd like to be a part of the program next week.
I think it's also on WRCO's community calendar, both in Spanish and English. I think that they help make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, and you and I talked about that. Not just this program, Pam, but there are a lot of programs around the area. We're seeing a lot more pamphlets in Spanish and prompts in Spanish and everything else.
Well, as I've gone around the community to put up flyers, and obviously we have our restaurants, La Fritanga, Los Amigos, RC Taco, that beautiful little candy store I love to go to, Delicias de Cuatro Hermanos. But then I went to the laundromat over by St. John's, and I noticed that there's a sweet corner there at the laundromat where people can read, and some of the children's books are in Spanish. Our library is very supportive of the Latino community in their, they have an area of material in Spanish. So, when you call the hospital, you don't get further in the phone system until you pick your language, either English or Spanish. So that just shows you how many of our neighbors and friends are Latino. Is that if even the hospital, you have to pick which language you're using. That just shows you that we have a lot of neighbors here who speak probably both languages, and that's one of the things that's good for your brain, right? Is learning to do new things, and one of them, no matter how old you are, I've heard that learning a new language at whatever age, maybe I should improve mine, mm-hmm. Is good for your brain. So there's a lot out there. My thing is come to our programs rather than going to the internet. There's some pretty wacky stuff out there. And there's good science behind what helps you and what can help you. And if nothing else, there's hope. So even if you're at risk for dementia or you have one of the many different conditions that we call dementia, right? Because it's many different diseases. There isn't just one. The ADRC can help you through that journey. We have a great conference coming up in August in La Crosse called Bringing Hope and Light to the Dementia Journey. And it's for and by people with dementia, because there's a growing organization. There's even a wonderful one I just discovered called the Council of Dementia Minds. And it's people like doctors, lawyers, professionals who have gotten the disease. Many of them are people who used to work with the disease and now they have it themselves. And they're talking about what we want to see. They're advocating for themselves, and they have some wonderful support groups online of people across the nation who have one of these diseases, and they can support each other through it. So many resources are blooming because, unfortunately, the population of people who get any of the different medical conditions that we call dementia or mild cognitive impairment. We have the geriatric assessment clinic here that can help people. The ADRC does memory screens if people want to learn more about brain health. But there are things you can do. If the main thing I want to get across is there's hope for quality of life. If you have one of the medical conditions, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, any of that. But there's also things that caregivers can learn that make their job less hard, and that there's prevention that we can do. And so, if anything, rather than feel pity and discouraged, we need to give people hope and support. And I enjoy my job doing that, and I appreciate your support here. We have a wonderful community that's very supportive.
We do. And it always seems like there's strides being made. And you mentioned earlier, Pam, about the blood test.
Right.
That fascinates me because that's another way where we can kind of be proactive. Right?
So remember that only one of the diseases of dementia, just like there's many kinds of cancer, there's many kinds of things under this umbrella we call dementia, and one of them is Alzheimer's. And that is because there's what's called plaques and tangles or amyloid and tau in our brain, and we can discover that not only, after we die, that's no longer true anymore. They can see it in a PET scan or MRI, they can see it in your cerebral fluid. They can do a test. Well, now they've narrowed it down. They can find in your blood if you have this accumulation. Now, we all get amyloid, right? That's part of our brain's, consequences of aging. But how much you get and how much impact it has on your functioning depends on how much you have. And they can now do, I've heard people are already getting it. I thought it was going to be new. It's already on the market. So in certain places or certain conditions, you can get this blood test and it will tell you, could you have Alzheimer's? So things are happening quickly. It's a field that's growing rapidly, and they're finding not only what are our new risks, like we find out that dental hygiene, believe it or not, you're getting dental hygiene because it's an infection has bacteria, it's very close to your brain. Dental hygiene affects your brain very highly, and as well as hard of hearing. So if you have poor hard of hearing or you don't treat that, it impacts how much your brain can function. So taking care of your teeth is an important thing. Who knew? Right?
Yeah, right.
Who knew that we had bacteria in our gut that actually is good for us? There's good bacteria and bad bacteria, and that affects your brain. So we have a very complicated system. We go around, being goofballs, but we actually have this very complicated system that we're carrying around that we actually have to take care of.
So get out and be social, play pickleball,
Yes.
walk a mile.
Brush your teeth.
Brush your teeth.
Have good sleep.
Good sleep.
Don't smoke. And learn something new. A lot of people say to me, hey, I'm doing my puzzles. Well, if that was last month, what are you doing this month, right? I learned Wordle. It became easy the more I did it, then it's no longer strengthening my brain. So you have to keep learning new things. So maybe I'll go out and learn some better Spanish today.
Better Spanish, that's good. And they say learning another language is a sign of higher intellect, maybe.
Also, which is good for you, is a sense of humor builds connections. So laughing about life, having a good sense of humor. That's why Robin Williams was a brilliant, he was able to not only get the dementia later in life, but because he had such a developed brain from a sense of humor, develops your brain, he was able to stave it off a little bit. So, make a joke today, and, make sure to get the correct toilet paper.
Yeah, there you go. From our trivia question last hour.
Yeah.
If you can see through it, it's not good, probably. So.
Not good for your brain.
Pam, always great to have you in here in the studios. We'll have you back again. But again, you just want to emphasize that people need to call and register if you're interested in next week's program at RC Tacos.
Right. So there's two phone numbers. One is if you want to come to RC Taco next June 18th from 4 to 6. The restaurant will be closed and we'll be doing this event. That you have to pre-register, and it's 414-431-8811. And that would be talking to Virginia. If you want to hear about future classes about a similar topic, then call me, Pam, at the ADRC at 608-548-3954.
Great.
And I think it'll be on the community calendar as well.
Thanks for all you do.
Okay, I appreciate you too.
You bet. Pam Kohlberg joining us here on WRC Radio, and earlier Virginia Zerpa as well. The morning show continues in a moment.